Let review. Professional Education, Part 2. 150 Items Drill. You are watching, and this is JM Pedagogical Vlog, Review. Disclaimer. No copyright infringement intended. For educational purposes only. All the following questions found in this video belong to the rightful owner. You may grab a piece of paper and a pen to answer. The correct answer will be shown right after each number. Make sure to answer all the questions. Are you ready? Okay, let's begin. 1. Computer-assisted instruction is an offshoot of the theory of A. Ivan Pavlov, B. Jean Piaget, C. Jerome Bruner, D. Burrs Frederick Skinner. D. Burrs Frederick Skinner. 2. Which of these statements reflects best active learning? A. I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. B. I became interested in the school. I feel it is my school now. C. I need more support, a network from which I could learn. D. I have found that one key to student development is providing criteria for performance. A. I hear and I forget. I see and I remember. I do and I understand. 3. It is an approach that makes students think about their thinking. Students get conscious of their thought processes while they are engaged in their cognitive tasks. A. Cognitive. B. Constructivist. C. Metacognitive. D. Reflectivist. C. Metacognitive. 4. Which of the following factors should Miss Sheena primarily consider in her determination of her teaching and learning objectives and in his utilization of instructional materials? A. Instructional activity and experience. B. Modes of material presentation. C. Assessment tools. D. Nature of the learners. D. Nature of the learners. 5. With a computer, you can organize information about trees and planets. Which tool should you use? A. Spreadsheet. B. Database. C. Word processing. D. Desktop publishing. B. Database. 6. You want to engage your students in a small group discussions. Which topic lends itself to a lively discussion? A. The exclusion of Pluto as a planet. B. The meaning of the law of supply and demand. C. The law of inertia. D. Rules on subject-verb agreement. A. The exclusion of Pluto as a planet. 7. Teacher Nicole wants the class to find out the effect of heat on matter. Which method will help her accomplish her objective? A. Problem method. B. Expository method. C. Project method. D. Laboratory method. D. Laboratory method. 8. What pillar of education which emphasizes learning to be human, through acquisition of knowledge, skills and values conducive to personality development? A. Learning to know. B. Learning to do. C. Learning to live together. D. Learning to be. D. Learning to be. 9. Inculcating the spirit of empathy among learners fulfills which pillar of learning? A. Learning to live together. B. Learning to do. C. Learning to be. D. Learning to know. A. Learning to live together. 10. Based on Freud's theory, which operates when a student is at the height of anger. A. Ego alone. B. Superego alone. C. It alone. D. Id and ego interaction. C. It alone. 11. If you want to hone your student's metacognitive ability, which is most fit? A. Drill for mastery. B. Journal writing. C. Debate. D. Brainstorming. B. Journal writing. 12. Teacher M. sees to it that her classroom is clean and orderly, so her pupils will less likely disarrange seats and litter on the floor. On which thought is her action based? A. Behaviorism. B. Existentialism. C. Progressivism. D. Reconstructionism. A. Behaviorism. 13. Which can enhance the development of spatial intelligence? A. Hands-on demonstrations. B. Environmental study. C. Concept miming. D. Concept mapping. D. Concept mapping. 14. In the midst of a pluralistic society, what type of learning environment is the responsibility of the teacher? 1. Secure. 2. Gender biased. 3. Safe. A1 and 2. B1 and 3. C2 and 3. D3 only. B1 and 3. 15. What refers to the matching between curriculum and test to be used to assess the learners? A. Delivery. B. Alignment. C. Articulation. D. Auditing. B. Alignment. 16. Batas Pambansa belong 232 Section 13. 2 provides institutions the freedom to determine on academic grounds that shall be admitted to study, who shall teach, and what shall be the subject and research. This statement means: A. Philippine education provides equal access to cultural opportunities. B. Philippine education recognizes academic freedom. C. Philippine education encourages voluntary accreditation. D. Philippine education accord rights to and imposes duties and obligations upon school administrators or managers. D. Philippine education accord rights to and imposes duties and obligations upon school administrators or managers. 17. The government's educational program on blank made the Philippine education placement test accessible for adults and out-of-school youth. A. Equitable access. B. Quality. C. Quality and relevance. D. Relevance. A. Equitable access. 18. Which is a teaching approach for kindergarten that makes real-world experiences of the child the focal point of educational stimulation? A. Eclectic approach. B. Situational approach. C. Traditional approach. D. Montessori approach. D. Montessori approach. 19. The subject matter is the ASEAN Qualification Framework (AQRF). The Asian history teacher teams up with the economics teacher and the professional education teacher for a thorough discussion of AQRF from the perspective of the other disciplines. Which describes the Asian history teacher's pedagogical approach? A. Constructivist. B. Integrated. C. Inquiry-based. D. Reflective. B. Integrated. 20. Which of the following demonstrates the teacher's integrity? A. Decisive thinking. B. Moral courage. C. Innovation. D. Entrepreneurship. B. Moral courage. 21. To ensure that all Filipino children are functionally literate, which mechanism is meant to reach out to children who come from a barangay without a school? A. Multi-grade classroom. B. Multi-level classroom. C. Mobile teacher. D. Cine escuela. C. Mobile teacher. 22. Nita doesn't enjoy writing but can't escape from it. She has to finish it in order to graduate. Greta has always liked to write. She really likes to become a writer because she wants to be a journalist someday. Who is more likely to be more focused on the writing activity and why? A. Greta, because she is intrinsically motivated. B. Nita, because she is extrinsically motivated. C. Both, because they are both motivated anyway. D. It cannot be determined. Motivation fluctuates. A. Greta, because she is intrinsically motivated. 23. A student knows that the examination week is approaching, but instead of studying, he chose to spend his time playing computer games. On the examination day itself, he opted to pray for miracles rather than studying. Which attitude towards religion is displayed? A. Religion is fake. B. Religion is magic. C. Religion is authentic. D. Religion is real. B. Religion is magic. 24. Which is a graphic representation of numerical data? A. Histogram. B. Attribute wheel. C. Venn diagram. D. Spider map. A. Histogram. 25. Article 13 of the Code of Ethics stipulates that the evaluation of the learner's work should be based on merit and quality of academic. A. Marks. B. Evaluation. C. Performance. D. Results. C. Performance. 26. The Department of Education gives greater emphasis on the development of basic skills. What is the philosophical basis for this? A. Existentialism. B. Essentialism. C. Pragmatism. D. Perennialism. B. Essentialism. 27. If a child is bitten by a snake, the child may not fear only that snake but also other snakes. Which conditioning process is illustrated? A. Acquisition. B. Discrimination. C. Extinction. D. Generalization. D. Generalization. 28. Is it wise to orient our students and parents on our grading system? A. Yes, so that from the very start, students and their parents know how grades are derived. B. Yes, but orientation must be only for our immediate customers, the students. C. No, this will court a lot of complaints later. D. No, grades and how they are derived are highly confidential. A. Yes, so that from the very start, students and their parents know how grades are derived. 29. In the preamble of the Code of Ethics of Professional Teachers, which is not mentioned about teachers. A. Possess dignity and reputation. B. With high moral values as well as technical and professional competence. C. Let passers. D. Duly licensed professionals. C. Let passers. 30. On periods of development, what feature characterizes the child in early childhood? A. Independence. B. Readiness for schooling. C. Maturity. D. High level of cognition. B. Readiness for schooling. 31. Instead of assigning our students to discuss how to write a good editorial, Ask them to write one for the school organ. Which principle underlies this practice? A. Promote meaningful connections between classroom subject matter and real-world contexts. B. Use assignments for instructional and diagnostic purposes. C. When giving assignments, take into account students' development levels. D. Make assignments challenging. A. Promote meaningful connections between classroom subject matter and real-world contexts. 32. Erikson labeled children who are 2 years of age as terrible too, because A. They are inquisitive. B. They are playful. C. They are sickly. D. They are assertive. D. They are assertive. 33. The class of grade 7 Emerald is scheduled to perform an experiment on that day. However, the chemicals are insufficient. What method may then be used? A. Lecture. B. Laboratory. C. Demonstration. D. Project. C. Demonstration. 34. In the Enhanced Basic Education Act 2013, what are addressed by mention of the madrasa curriculum who are given attention for inclusive education? A. Bajau children in Zamboanga. B. Muslim children. C. Atis children in Zambalis. D. Mindanao children. B. Muslim children. 35. Which is true of LET passers? A. The taking of oath must be within 1 month from passing the LET. B. Taking the professional oath before practicing as a professional teacher is optional for LET passers. C. Every LET passer shall be required to take the professional oath before practicing as a professional teacher. D. The professional oath can be taken before any professional teacher. C. Every LET passer shall be required to take the professional oath before practicing as a professional teacher. 36. Along Erikson's psychosocial theory, which states intimacy. A. I keep private thoughts to myself. B. I want to be free and uncommitted. C. I like to be alone and quiet by myself. D. I feel that no man is an island. D. I feel that no man is an island. 37. According to Batas Pambansa Bilang 232, the following are the rights of school except for A. Right to enforce administrative systems. B. Right for basic education to determine subjects of study. C. Right for institutions of higher learning to determine academic grounds for admission. D. Right to provide for the proper governance. B. Right for basic education to determine subjects of study. 38. It occurs when a teacher is teaching a lesson or one topic, but then inserts unrelated material from a previous lesson. A. Dangle. B. Thrust. C. Stimulus bounded. D. Flip-flop. D. Flip-flop. 39. Miss Bass, a history teacher, considers the element of time in arranging content of her lessons in world history. What way of establishing a sequence is given emphasis by Miss Bass? A. Part to whole. B. Concrete to abstract. C. Chronological. D. Simple to complex. C. Chronological. 40. The teacher's first task in the selection of media in teaching is to determine the A. Objectives of the lesson. B. Technique to be used. C. Choice of the students. D. Availability of media. A. Objectives of the lesson. 41. Teacher Mario discovered that his pupils are very good at dramatizing. Which tool must have helped him discover his pupils' strength? A. Paper and pencil test. B. Portfolio assessment. C. Journal entry. D. Performance test. D. Performance test. 42. In the context of Piaget's cognitive theory, how will a teacher explain a preschool child's behavior who says, "Gaya ha happen," like that yesterday, when in a restaurant the waiter asks him what he wants to order? A. The child is incapable of seriation at his stage. B. The child is in the operational stage. C. Egocentric thinking predominates in the pre-operational stage. D. Intelligence is demonstrated through the use of symbols in the pre-operational stage. C. Egocentric thinking predominates in the pre-operational stage. 43. If a student is encouraged to develop himself to the fullest and must satisfy his hierarchy of needs, the highest needs to satisfy according to Maslow is: A. Belongingness. B. Psychological needs. C. Safety needs. D. Self-actualization. D. Self-actualization. 44. In order to make Roman education truly utilitarian, how should the day-to-day lessons be taught? A. Practiced at home under the guidance of their respective parents. B. Related and linked to the events happening in everyday life. C. Taught interestingly through the play-way method. D. Taught in the student's native dialect. B. Related and linked to the events happening in everyday life. 45. Given the following distribution scores: 15, 30, 25, 17, 30, 23, 20. Which of the following is the median value of the given score distribution? A. 23. B. 25. C. 30. D. 17. A. 23. 46. Mahatma Gandhi is famous for his quote that says, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." In line with this, developing love and concern for others through service is an example of: A. Learning to do. B. Learning to be. C. Learning to live together. D. Learning to know. C. Learning to live together. 47. Is it professional for a teacher to receive gifts from students and parents? A. Yes, as it is. B. Yes, in season and out of season gifts. C. No, especially if done in exchange for requested concessions. D. No, unless the principal allows. C. No, especially if done in exchange for requested concessions. 48. Teaching interns are immersed in both public and private schools where they experience real teaching and learning scenarios. How are these schools called? A. Laboratory schools. B. Practicing laboratory. C. Clinical schools. D. Cooperating schools. D. Cooperating schools. 49. Which questioning practice will promote more class interaction? A. Asking divergent questions. B. Focusing on convergent questions. C. Rejecting the wrong answer. D. Asking rhetorical questions. A. Asking divergent questions. 50. In the light of the modern concept of teaching, which is a characteristic of effective teaching? A. Developing abilities to address the future. B. Pouring information to the learners. C. Removing the physical presence of the teacher. D. Allowing learners to learn on their own. D. Allowing learners to learn on their own. 51. Studies show that bullying in school may happen with a teacher as the culprit or bully by initiating and doing it, whether consciously or unconsciously. How can this be avoided? A. Reduce being annoying to students. B. Be careful and sensitive with the words and gestures that may be offensive to students. C. Explain to students that teachers as elders are exempted from being accused of bullying. D. Whenever cracking jokes, always remind students that it's just a prank. B. Be careful and sensitive with the words and gestures that may be offensive to students. 52. Which of the goals can be set so that students can be best self-motivated towards appreciation for learning? A. High ranking among peers. B. Love for learning. C. Desire to pass to grades. D. Success for high grades. B. Love for learning. 53. Which of the following is the initial task in preparing a research study? A. Definition of terms. B. Analysis of findings. C. Gathering of evidence. D. Formulation of a problem. D. Formulation of a problem. 54. The statement, "We don't live in a vacuum," means people are A. Social beings. B. Urban dwellers. C. Biological organisms. D. Nature-bred. A. Social beings. 55. When is the table of specifications required in test standardization? A. When test results are to be interpreted. B. When a tryout test is needed. C. When norms are developed. D. When test items are planned. D. When test items are planned. For items 56 and 57, study this group of tests which were administered with the following results. Subject: Mathematics, English, Science. Mean: 96, 96, 93. Standard deviation: 3, 2.75, 2.5. Zyra's score: 95, 98, 95. 56. In which group are scores less dispersed? A. Science. B. English. C. Mathematics. D. Both mathematics and science. A. Science. 57. In which group are scores more dispersed? A. Science. B. English. C. Mathematics. D. Both mathematics and English. C. Mathematics. 58. Which of the following does not appear on UNESCO's definition of literacy? A. Interpret. B. Reading. C. Create. D. Communicate. B. Reading. 59. Here is a test item. Blank is an example of mammal. What is defective of this test item? A. It is a significant test item. B. It is a very short question. C. It is very elementary. D. The blank is at the beginning of the sentence. D. The blank is at the beginning of the sentence. 60. What do you call the curriculum when the teacher puts into action all the different planned activities in the classroom? A. Taught curriculum. B. Recommended curriculum. C. Written curriculum. D. Curriculum. A. Taught curriculum. 61. Why are people victimized by financial scams that end up in the loss of properties, investments and savings, and even ruining their lives? A. It is already their destiny that may happen anytime as sketched in the palm of their lives. B. It is always part of life, and it is just that they are not wise enough to cope with it. C. They have not learned in school how to avoid being scammed. D. They desire easy and quick money. D. They desire easy and quick money. 62. If you were to integrate technology into the classroom, which of the following should be present to increase your chances of success? Success means the impact on student achievement, performance, and motivation. A. The teacher provides little feedback, and the student determines an appropriate pace for learning. B. School leaders and the parent community support technology use. C. Student work focuses on the creation of a product. D. Students have opportunities to collaborate. C. Student work focuses on the creation of a product. 63. When I grow up, I cannot imagine doing anything else but to be an elementary teacher, says Nika, a 6-year-old child. A. Mission. B. Vocation. C. Occupation. D. Profession. B. Vocation. 64. The students of Mrs. Del Pilar are very noisy. To keep them busy, they were given any test available in the classroom, and then the results were graded as a way to punish them. Which statement best explains if the practice is acceptable or not? A. The practice is not acceptable because it violates the principle of reliability. B. The practice is not acceptable because it violates the principle of validity. C. The practice is acceptable since the test results are graded. D. The practice is acceptable because the students behaved well when they were given a test. B. The practice is not acceptable because it violates the principle of validity. 65. How do you judge the teaching style of a teacher who provides feedback to students, analyzes their work, and diagnoses errors? A. Programmatic. B. Interactive. C. Inspiratory. D. Explanatory. B. Interactive. 66. The University of Santo Tomas High School has 8 sections, with names such as piety, responsibility, patriotism, and respect, among others. These are classified as this value. A. Values of the holy. B. Pleasure. C. Vital. D. Spiritual. D. Spiritual. 67. In outcome-based teaching and learning OBTL, which is the basis of what to assess? A. The development stage of the learner. B. Teaching learning activities. C. Intended learning outcomes. D. Subject matter. C. Intended learning outcomes. 68. Mike develops an integral and coherent sense of self. He seeks answers to the question, who am I? Which of the following is Mike likely to develop? A. Identity and role confusion. B. Autonomy. C. Intimacy. D. Initiative. A. Identity and role confusion. 69. If Mr. Inigo will have to make a scoring rubric for the student's output, what format is better to construct considering that the teacher has limited time to evaluate their work? A. Analytic. B. Holistic. C. Either A or B. D. Both A and B. B. Holistic. 70. We must prepare young people for living in a world of powerful images, words and sounds, a UNESCO's description of. A. Landscape of 21st century curriculum. B. 21st century skills of the teachers. C. Attributes of the 21st century graduates. D. Literacy for the 21st century. D. Literacy for the 21st century. 71. Classical conditioning theory is always attributed to him for his experiment involving the dog's salivation as a reaction to the sound of the bell. A. Bandura. B. Pavlov. C. Skinner. D. Kohlberg. B. Pavlov. 72. A stakeholder in curriculum development, Mrs. Santos, a district supervisor and a member of the school board, has one of the following primary roles. A. Authorize school expenditure for curriculum development, implementation and evaluation. B. Support and participate in parent-school organization activities. C. Recommend changes in curriculum. D. Enact legislation to effect curriculum improvement. C. Recommend changes in curriculum. 73. The philosophy believes that the school should originate policies and progress which would bring about reform of the social orders. A. Behaviorism. B. Reconstructionism. C. Progressivism. D. Perennialism. B. Reconstructionism. 74. The Philippines has 175 languages, and only one Tagalog was used as a medium of instruction. Hence, the Department of Education introduced this program, first in 2009, to ensure that other languages are also used. A. Lingua Franca Project. B. Local Languages Education. C. Mother Tongue-Based Multilingual Education. D. Trilingual Project. C. Mother Tongue-Based Multilingual Education. 75. At the beginning of the school year, the 6-year-old pupils were tested to find out who among them can already read. The results were used to determine their sections. What kind of test was given to them? A. Summative. B. Diagnostic. C. Formative. D. Placement. D. Placement. 76. In his social science class, teacher Carl uses a contest on current events to determine champions in identifying people, places and events. This implies that teacher Carl wants his students to achieve what learning objective? A. Analysis. B. Application. C. Comprehension. D. Knowledge. D. Knowledge. 77. When drug addiction happens to an individual, Freud explains that the A. It exerts too much power over the ego. B. Ego overcomes the ID. C. It and superego balance each other. D. The superego blinds the ego. A. It exerts too much power over the ego. 78. The child continues her development but sexual urges are quiet. In line with Freud's theory, the first statement falls under what stage? A. Anal stage. B. Genital stage. C. Latency stage. D. Phallic stage. C. Latency stage. 79. Mrs. Alba, a curriculum consultant on economics, insists that in selecting the curriculum content, it is better that throughout the high school years, economic geography concepts be used to recur and be repeated with depth for effective learning. What criterion in content selection is shown here? A. Significance. B. Validity. C. Learnability. D. Continuity. D. Continuity. 80. For grades 1 to 10, what is the percentage weight given to performance tasks in language Filipino and English? A. 30%, B. 40%, C. 50%, D. 60%. C. 50%. 81. What are the correct steps that Mr. Miguel should do if he plans to integrate technology and media in his English class? 1. Select methods, media, and materials. 2. State the objectives. 3. Require learner participation. 4. Analyze the learners. A. 1, 2, 3, 4. B. 4, 2, 1, 3. C. 3, 4, 1, 2. D. 2, 3, 1, 4. B. 4, 2, 1, 3. Mrs. Santiago developed an achievement test in math for her grade 3 pupils. Before she finalized the test, she examined carefully if the test items were constructed based on the competencies that must be tested. What test of validity was she trying to establish? A. Predictive validity. B. Construct validity. C. Content validity. D. Concurrent validity. C. Content validity. 84. The following describe TABA's grassroots approach in curriculum development, except A. Starts with objectives and ends with demands for education. B. Believes that teachers are aware of students' needs. C. Reflect the teacher's approach. D. Inductive. A. Starts with objectives and ends with demands for education. 85. Luis is always fearful of freely roaming dogs but does not mind dogs in pen or on a leash. What features of classical conditioning are exhibited? A. Extinction. B. Practice. C. Discrimination. D. Generalization. C. Discrimination. 86. How do you call a classroom management technique composed of coping strategies used by effective teachers to stop misbehavior without disrupting the flow of the lesson? A. Disruptive. B. Preventive. C. High profile. D. Low profile. D. Low profile. 87. The spiral progression approach in teaching math in K-12 curriculum means that you both teach basic math concept from K to grade 10, increasing depth and breadth across the grades. This means that math teaching is A. Inquiry-based. B. Integrated. C. Developmentally appropriate. D. Inclusive. C. Developmentally appropriate. 88. Interpersonal relationships serve multiple functions in a child's social development, such as A. Influencer of cultural values. B. Develop their internal emotion to come out. C. Providing social and emotional support. D. Enhancing self-esteem and identity. C. Providing social and emotional support. 89. If you are doing an assessment of learning, at what stage of instruction should you do it? A. Prior to instruction. B. Before instruction. C. During the instructional process. D. After instruction. D. After instruction. What was the philosophy of education in the Philippines before the establishment of the public school system? A. Perennialism. B. Essentialism. C. Humanism. D. Pragmatism. D. Pragmatism. 92. Ms. Delfrado, an accounting teacher in senior high school, wants to show her students the fluctuations of the price of gasoline and other petroleum products over the last 12 months. Which of the following could best aid her? A. An eye-catchy animation from MS PowerPoint. B. Line graphs and tables from MS Excel. C. List of prices from MS Word. D. A colorful template from Canva. B. Line graphs and tables from MS Excel. 93. Which reform in the Philippines education system advocates the use of English and Filipino as media of instruction in specific learning areas? A. K-12 program. B. Multilingual education. C. Alternative learning. D. Bilingual education. D. Bilingual education. 94. A teacher wants to measure her students' ability to discriminate. Which of these is an appropriate type of test item as implied by the direction? A. Give examples of matter. B. Group the following items according to shapes. C. Summarize the lesson yesterday. D. Outline the chapter of the cell. B. Group the following items according to shapes. 95. Which of the following characterize a well-motivated lesson? A. The children have something to do. B. The class is quiet. C. There are varied procedures and activities undertaken by the pupils. D. The teacher can leave the pupils. C. There are varied procedures and activities undertaken by the pupils. 96. Teacher Cruz does not personally agree with one school policy. What is his professional responsibility? A. Make an honest effort to understand, support and carry out the school policy even if she does not personally agree. B. Remain connected with the school but defy the policy because in conscience she cannot agree. C. Be indifferent about it but exert effort to understand it. D. Led a campaign against its abolition. A. Make an honest effort to understand, support and carry out the school policy even if she does not personally agree. 97. What pillar of education of J. Delors, UNESCO, focuses on technical vocational relevant to people-centered human development? A. Learning to be. B. Learning to live together. C. Learning to know. D. Learning to do. D. Learning to do. 98. Which is the primary characteristic of a subject-centered design model of the curriculum? A. Multidisciplinary. B. Interrelated. C. Correlated. D. Interdisciplinary. D. Interdisciplinary. 99. Simon's raw score in the test for English is 56, which is the 98th percentile. What does this mean? A. Simon's score is less than 56% of his classmates. B. 98% of Simon's classmates got a score higher than 56. C. Simon is higher than 98% of his classmates. D. 98% of Simon's classmates got a score lower than 56. C. Simon is higher than 98% of his classmates. 100. On cognitive principles in test construction, what ability is required to correctly answer filling the blanks questions? A. Creative imagination. B. Memory recall. C. Analytical thinking. D. Application process. B. Memory recall. 101. You targeted that after the instructions, your students should be able to show their ability to solve problems with speed and accuracy. You then designed a tool to measure this ability. What principal assessment did you consider in this situation? A. Assessment should be based on clear and appropriate learning targets or objectives. B. Assessment should have a positive consequence on students' learning. C. Assessment should be reliable. D. Assessment should be fair. A. Assessment should be based on clear and appropriate learning targets or objectives. 102. This theory views education as a recurring process on eternal truths. Thus the school's curriculum should emphasize the recurrent themes of human life. A. Realism. B. Perennialism. C. Progressivism. D. Materialism. B. Perennialism. 103. Which among the following verbs belongs to the comprehension level? A. Identify. B. List. C. Enumerate. D. Summarize. D. Summarize. 104. What type of validity does the pre-board examination possess if its results can explain how the students will likely perform in their licensure examination? A. Construct. B. Content. C. Predictive. D. Concurrent. C. Predictive. 105. Schools divide the school hours into different subjects such as reading, grammar, literature, math, science, history and geography. What curriculum design is referred to here? A. Learner-centered. B. Subject-centered. C. Culture-based. D. Problem-centered. B. Subject-centered. 106. Republic Act 7722 was approved during the year 1994. This act is commonly known as the A. Commission on Higher Education Act. B. Kindergarten Law. C. Technical Education and Skills Development Authority Act. D. Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013. A. Commission on Higher Education Act. 107. Which of these questions is divergent? A. How do you differentiate a clean from a polluted environment? B. What makes a clean environment? C. If you were an environmentalist, what innovations will you employ? D. What is a clean environment? C. If you were an environmentalist, what innovations will you employ? 108. The discrimination index of a test item is 1.0. This means that the test is A. Very easy. B. A quality item. C. Very difficult. D. Missed by everybody. A. Very easy. 109. The curriculum used during the period in Philippines history terminated the use of English as a medium of instruction. What period is this? A. Spanish. B. American. C. Commonwealth. D. Japanese. D. Japanese. 110. Which of the following demonstrates that a teacher is competent in content knowledge and pedagogy? A. Rote and drill teaching. B. Concept-based teaching. C. Teacher-centered teaching. D. Research-based teaching. D. Research-based teaching. 111. Who among the teachers below performed a diagnostic test? A. Mrs. Ventura administered a readiness test to incoming grade 1 pupils. B. Ms. Lopez gave a 10-item test to find out the specific lessons which the students failed to understand. C. Mr. Santos gave a short quiz after discussing the lesson to determine the programs of learning. D. Ms. Legazpi asked questions when the discussion was going on among her students understood what she trying to emphasize. B. Ms. Lopez gave a 10-item test to find out the specific lessons which the students failed to understand. 112. In Grace Goddard's reading skills ladder, which is found at the very bottom and needed to move up to the sequential ladder of reading skills. A. Structural analysis. B. Vocabulary building. C. Phonetic analysis. D. Basic sight words. D. Basic sight words. 113. What knowledge process was involved when a teacher asked his students to reflect on themselves as self-learning? A. Deduction. B. Induction. C. Metacognition. D. Observation. C. Metacognition. 114. Is continuing professional education for every teacher compulsory? A. No, it is optional. A professional has the voice whether to go for CPE or not. B. Yes, it is compulsory as stated in the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers. C. Yes, it is compulsory as stated in Republic Act 92/93. D. Yes, it is compulsory as stated in the Magna Carta for Public School Teachers. B. Yes, it is compulsory as stated in the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers. 115. What is the correct sequence of prenatal stages of development? A. Germinal, embryo, fetal. B. Embryo, fetal, germinal. C. Germinal, fetal, embryo. D. Embryo, germinal, fetal. A. Germinal, embryo, fetal. 116. Teacher Dave says, if it is billiard that brings students out of the classroom, let us bring it into the classroom. Perhaps, I can use it to teach math. To which philosophy does Teacher Dave adhere to? A. Essentialism. B. Reconstructionism. C. Progressivism. D. Idealism. C. Progressivism. 117. Teacher Zena's asked her students to state a quote using their own words. Teacher Zena's asking students to A. Compare and contrast. B. Draw analogies. C. Summarize. D. Paraphrase. D. Paraphrase. 118. Jamie has not practiced her teaching profession for the past 5 years. How many units of education courses should she take before she is allowed to teach? A. 12 units. B. 15 units. C. 24 units. D. 30 units. A. 12 units. 119. The following supports the statement that every teacher shall be physically, mentally, and morally fit, except for A. The conduct of X-ray test, urine test, hepatitis test and other related physical examinations. B. The conduct of the neuropsychological exam is one of the requirements on applying for a teaching position. C. Must be able to identify one's blood type. D. Negative drug test. C. Must be able to identify one's blood type. 120. Who controls the subject-centered curriculum? A. Learner. B. Parent. C. Teacher. D. Teacher and parent. C. Teacher. 121. Which educational policy in the history of curriculum in the Philippines established a free public school for the entire country, an 11-year basic education system, a set of teacher volunteers, and the use of English as the medium of instruction? A. Education Act of 1901 American Regime. B. Education Act of 1940 Commonwealth. C. Education Act 1982, New Republic. D. Republic Act 7836 of 1994, Fifth Republic. A. Education Act of 1901, American Regime. 122. Do students who are test-anxious finish an exam sooner than non-anxious students? Which goal of scientific research does this research question address? A. Determination of the causes of behavior. B. Explanation of behavior. C. Description of event. D. Prediction of behavior. D. Prediction of behavior. 123. Republic Act 8525 is commonly known as the A. Philippine Teachers Professional Act of 1994. B. Brigda Escuela Law. C. Local Government Code. D. Testa Law. B. Brigda Escuela Law. 124. Chloe, a 7-year-old girl, knows how to arrange objects or things according to weight, shape, color, or size. Chloe, as a young learner, has already developed this concept if we refer to Piaget's work. A. Seriation. B. Conservation. C. Reversibility. D. Decentering. A. Seriation. 125. The National Competency-Based Teacher Standards (NCBTS) is composed of how many domains? A. 3. B. 5. C. 7. D. 8. C. 7. 126. Teacher Diane is not yet finished discussing the topic about parts of the plants. The next day, her students were surprised when she proceeded to discuss a new topic about pollination, when in fact she has not completed explaining the first topic. This event is an example of A. Stimulus bound. B. Flip-flop. C. Thrust. D. Dangle. D. Dangle. 127. Ashley got perfect scores in all his quizzes. As a result, Teacher Mike told him that he will be exempted to take the major examination. This act of Teacher Mike is an example of A. Punishment. B. Positive reinforcement. C. Negative reinforcement. D. Primary reinforcement. C. Negative reinforcement. 128. Teacher Teresa is now 69 years old and has been observing changes in herself such as aging process. Which term refers to the development change in the individual? A. Growth. B. Learning. C. Development. D. Maturation. D. Maturation. 129. During early stage of development, a toddler would start to build some basic concepts in his/her mind, like the idea of a dog or a cat, food or toy. According to Piaget, these basic cognitive concepts are known as A. Schema. B. Equilibrium. C. Assimilation. D. Accommodation. A. Schema. 31. Of the following types of tests, which is the most subjective in scoring? A. Essay. B. Multiple choice. C. Matching type. D. Enumeration. A. Essay. 132. The teacher published the following researches, books, materials, manuals, and the other instructional aid. A. Evaluator. B. Planner. C. Writer. D. Innovator. C. Writer. 133. The Professional Teachers Code of Ethics does not cover a. Teachers in all educational institutions at the preschool, elementary, and secondary levels. b. Teachers of academic, vocational, special, technical, or non-formal institutions. c. All full-time or part-time public and private school teachers and administrators. d. Teachers in the tertiary level. d. Teachers in the tertiary level. 134. Success in this stage will lead to the virtue of wisdom. Wisdom enables a person to look back on their life with a sense of closure and completeness, and also accept death without fear. According to Erickson, the aforementioned line can be categorized under the stage of a. Intimacy versus isolation. b. Integrity versus despair. c. Generativity versus stagnation. d. Industry versus inferiority. b. Integrity versus despair. 135. Refers to the profession dealing with classroom instruction at all levels of education. a. Training. b. Learning. c. Teaching. d. Informing. c. Teaching. 136. What is the ultimate goal of teaching eco-literacy, one of the new literacies of the 21st century? a. To beautify the natural environment. b. To increase students' environmental awareness and care for sustainable development. c. To learn how nature works. d. To preserve people's health. b. To increase students' environmental awareness and care for sustainable development. 137. What does Article 13 of the Code of Ethics include as the basis for evaluating students other than the quality of academic performance? a. Merit. b. Extracurricular activities. c. Conduct. d. Attendance. a. Merit. 138. Which influence the military training requirements among students in secondary and tertiary levels? a. Orientals. b. Chinese. c. Romans. d. Greeks. d. Greeks. 139. Which of the following refers to an understanding that something or someone continues to exist even when the child can't see? a. Object permanence. b. Primary circular reactions. c. Early representational thought. d. Coordination of reactions. a. Object permanence. 140. During the insurgence of the pandemic, the world seemed to have turned upside down. What aspect of the school curriculum was drastically modified? a. Content of curriculum. b. Assessment of learning. c. Delivery of curriculum. d. Written curriculum. c. Delivery of curriculum. 141. Ms. Rosario uses images and language to represent and understand her various lessons to preschool learners. What stage in the cognitive theory of development explains this? a. Formal operation. b. Sensorimotor. c. Preoperational. d. Concrete operation. c. Preoperational. 142. Francisca excels in dancing and in certain sports. According to Gardner, what intelligence is dominant in Francisca? a. Spatial. b. Bodily kinesthetic. c. Musical. d. Intrapersonal. b. Bodily kinesthetic. 143. You wanted to teach concepts, patterns, and abstractions. Which mentioned as most appropriate? A. Problem solving. B. Indirect instruction. C. Deductive method. D. Direct instruction. B. Indirect instruction. 144. Where does the governance of basic education start? A. National level. B. Regional level. C. Division level. D. School level. National level. 145. Given the oldest historical understanding of a teacher, which of the following is closest to the idea of the first teachers who were parents or elders transmitting norms, crafts and beliefs to the young? A. Guardian. B. Coach. C. School teacher. D. Master. A. Guardian. 146. Implement means putting into practice the experiences which have been written in all except A. Course online. B. Internet resource sites. C. Curriculum guide. D. Syllabi. B. Internet resource sites. 147. In a student conducted, the pupils were asked which nationality they would prefer if given a choice. The majority of the pupils wanted to be Americans. In this case, in which obligation relative to the state or school seemed to be failing? A. Promote obedience to the laws of the state. B. Instill allegiance to the constitutional authorities. C. Promote national pride. D. Respect for all duly constituted authorities. C. Promote national pride. 148. Which is implied by a negatively skewed score distribution? A. Most of the scores are high. B. Most of the scores are low. C. Most of the pupils are underachievers. D. The scores are evenly distributed from left to right. A. Most of the scores are high. 149. To cater to the naturalistic competence of students, which of these activities must be utilized? A. Creating dance steps. B. Constructing models. C. Going to the zoo. D. Writing a movie reflection. C. Going to the zoo. 150. What was the method used by Socrates when he taught his students about life and beliefs in ancient Greek society? A. Art of rhetoric. B. Art of storytelling. C. Art of fallacies. D. Art of questioning. D. Art of questioning. How many correct answers did you get from this drill? Comment it down below. I hope you got a passing score of 113 and above. If not, don't give up, you're almost there. You did your part. Try it again. If you try more, you will master it. Good luck LPT cutie. Claim it. Before I finally end this video, I would like to give a shout out to our silver members. Shout out to Lucille Escarda, and hello to Kathy Salem. Thank you for your willingness and participation. See you in the next drills. The next video will appear on screen and click it to watch.